You know, because that's only DOH is where I need to share something. Because I think like there's more than track. So I'm going to talk to DOH with that.
I'll start with Mackenzie.
I'm gonna see if it's any good before.
Yeah, no.
Well,
Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to.
I'm blackmailable now.
You are?
Yeah, I'm gonna make right. It's blackmailable now.
Great.
You're lucky I like race.
I'll reach out to him. I'll reach
I
out.
say go.
Oh, he's got his eyes closed on that one. Can't do that one. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Josh.
So yeah, that's gonna work.
Here's something that I-
And then I hear back.
Yeah.
I think Judy brought a copy.
I know.
We'll get it taken care of.
Hey,
Yeah, appreciate it.
Nate, we didn't have to hire the contracts at 218.
That we did not.
We did not, they're finished.
I noticed it over the weekend. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that worked out.
You'll raking, but I'll just have Nate to do that. He doesn't mind. You'll raking with her.
Say voluntary work or what.
218.
You may have another thought.
Huh?
You may have another thought.
Oh,
I
he'll do it.
I think our provision said council was raking that part.
Yeah, you can hear it. can't you? You heard it.
Yeah,
And he was gonna talk to you about it. Did he talk to you
you think we're all
about
right to go ahead and get started?
it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh,
Good enough. Still ain't done.
no. I just wondered about it. That's all.
We're sleeping all day.
It takes so little.
Okay, I think we're good to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. And if you'd stand, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kim Harrison Edwards,
Here,
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers, here.
You got
Councilman
two.
Randy Bowen,
Here.
Councilwoman Debbie Buck, here. Councilman Herb Curtis,
Here.
City Manager Nate Stansberry,
Present.
Okay. Sorry.
City Manager Brian Bailey.
City attorney.
What I say?
City manager. It's a big difference.
City Attorney Brian Bailey,
Here.
Finance Director Susie Johnston,
Here.
Chief Josh Thomas. Here. Chief Jimmy Settle.
Here.
Building Code Enforcement Andrew Darby. Street Commissioner Mike Starrett.
Here.
Sanitary Director D. Evans.
you have the minutes from the regular and special sessions dated April 4th and April 19th in your packets. If you want to take a few minutes to look those over, noting any additions or corrections.
Thank you, Judy. I read mine.
here.
Discussion.
We have for phase two.
I don't know.
That was just a discussion about what would be involved. Sanitary board's report. You can ask her during it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the regular and special sessions dated April 4th and 19th as distributed.
We approve the regular special session minutes.
There a second?
One second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the visitors section. No one is scheduled. Okay. And next, we have a request for aid from Lewis Bennett Library for the roof repair or replacement. Did someone from the library wish to speak to the group?
I probably don't need that, honestly. I have brought the bids and stuff, if you want to see some pictures and the bid we chose to go with for you guys. And some of the upgrades we've done for library. This couple of months. Here's. Thank you. Nick, did you want-
Sure, we'll take it.
Your improvements are noticeable.
Oh, thank you.
It really is looking nice. Thank you for your hard work.
So this year is our 100th year anniversary at Lewis Bennett Public Library and War Memorial. We are definitely needing a new roof on our building. And as you can see on pages 1 and 2 and 3, the roof is just coming apart. We've patched it a couple of times, but it's just not holding up to its life right now. It hasn't been redone since like the beginning of the 80s. That was our last record that has been done. So the company that we chose to go with is North Central Building Solutions. They were our lowest bid, which was $62,418.
$418.
I have written a grant to the historical preservation up in Elkins for $10,000. Planning Commission has agreed to give us $25,000. Hoping the city would give us $25,000 and matching that, and then the library itself would have to put in $20,000 only out of our pockets. So that's why I'm here today, to see if I can help get funding for our roof and the structure. Like I said, the roof is causing internal damages also. On our 3rd floor, the War Memorial, on the 2nd floor, I'm sorry, the War Memorial, the plaster is like coming off the walls from where the roof is leaking. And it's not gotten to the 1st floor very much to where our books are. And on the 4th floor as well, the 3rd floor, I'm sorry, the 3rd floor, there's a room that's completely, just the whole roof is caved in. So it's just slowly coming down the building and causing internal damages. We can't fix those damages until the roof is fixed. That's why I'm here today. And my board member, Dave Bush and Kathy Marshall with me today as well to answer any questions.
Where's the company out of?
Clarksburg. Yeah, their address isn't on their bid. They've done a couple roofs around here. Dave, where did you say that one roof that was done at? On. What is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, they've done a lot of the historical roofing over in Glenville State College. They've done 8 of them over there on some of those buildings. And Glenville State highly recommends them for historical preservation and stuff
Good.
like that. They would use the architectural shingles. I do know that.
So you're requesting the 25,000 from ARPA funding?
Yes.
And I remember you attended the ARPA meeting.
Yes,
and
I did.
appreciated it. Yes, thank you.
Does the library have on hand the available remaining funds needed for the roof replacement?
We do. If we did choose to do that, it would take a lot of our funding to do the upkeep of the building. So it would definitely hurt us in financial situations if something would happen dramatically to the building itself.
Questions?
I think we asked her questions at the forum we had. So
Mhm.
we're well.
If you have any
well
questions,
aware.
please reach out. I can answer any questions or he's my contractor, or Marty Dennison. He helps me with the contracts, construction part of it.
You're ready. You can make that motion, yes.
Before we make a motion, can I just add a little bit to that? I'd like to see us increase the motion to $50,000 to include works on the retaining wall and their parking lot. I think with this ARPA, I received a quotation for just under 25,000 to repair that retaining wall from a local contractor. So I think we will solicit bids and handle that project on our own side as a city of Weston. But I think what I'd like to see us do going forward with ARPA funds is, as invoices come in from whatever contractors, we will pay those directly from the city of Weston. So like in this regard, I think this conversation is informed with speaking with Cindy Wetzel at the county commission as well. I think we'll look to pay for these works in a split fashion or be invoiced for half the cost or something to that regard where those are directly sent to us. So we can
Okay.
pay that contractor just for reporting sake.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like to ask council to do, is authorize us to go down that path. And, at that point, whenever your work starts, you would just invoice us directly for our proportion of the cost. Does
Okay.
that make sense, council?
Yes, it does make sense. to
Is
me.
that satisfactory?
That's
to the
satisfies
library?
me. How do you guys feel about it? I'm satisfied.
Just from looking at the county records, it looks like the retaining wall is within our right of way. So that's why I'm kind of claiming it as work to be done. And yeah, it's either we do it or we order you to do it. And if you don't do it, then we'll be doing it. So
We're right back
that's where we're at.
And we're right back to
Right,
you
we're right
needing
back to
funds,
this.
so we might as well, yeah.
I make a move that we award the Lewis Bennett Public Library and War Memorial $50,000 from our ARPA fund for improvements to retaining wall and roof at the library.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll have voting by roll call. Did you have a question?
No, go ahead. I just said it was the right thing to do.
Oh, sure.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers,
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump,
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ARPA.
I know.
Nice to be able to
It's
help.
nice to be able to do that.
And next on the agenda, we really owe a lot of gratitude to Betty Brooks and her family for continuing the legacy of the Neighborhood Watch Program in Weston and Lewis County and keeping people active and engaged. I have prepared a proclamation, and I'll read it as follows. Whereas National Neighborhood Watch programs began in 1972 as an effort to allow citizens to help in the fight against crime and provide an opportunity for communities to bond through service. Whereas the Weston Central Neighborhood Watch program has worked to unite law enforcement agencies, private organizations, and individual citizens in Weston in an effort to reduce crime and improve our local community. Whereas the Weston Central Neighborhood Watch program continues to empower citizens to become active in community efforts by drawing upon their compassion and lending their neighbors a hand. Pardon? Now therefore, I, Kim Harrison Edwards, Mayor of the City of Weston, along with Weston City Council and staff, recognize Betty Brooks and family for their perseverance and dedication to Weston and its citizens by continuing to provide an opportunity for service through the Neighborhood Watch program. And I will entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation.
I move to adopt the proclamation.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Absolutely.
You know, we started this, and it's been almost 29 years since we began our group. And we couldn't have done it without, with you, Kim, and without a couple of the council that comes to our regular meetings every day. Josh, correct, I'm emotional about this, but anyway, Josh lets one of the officers come, and then we have sheriff goes, fire department let us hold our meetings there, you know, it's a community thing. And I know that it's growing. I mean, you know, they come and they go, and it's just like any other organization. But we just really appreciate it, that, you know, all the support and everything. And this is totally private. So I got my agenda today. What we think.
Like to come up and maybe Becca can get a photo of, and Billy, you're welcome to come up too. You're part of the Brooks family.
Come on, Billy.
Billy's very photogenic, aren't you, Billy?
And we can't do without Judy. She helps get the memos. So that's a good thing.
No.
Me?
Yeah, I want to come on the other side of you.
But thank you guys for so
Scoot that way.
Come on, Billy. You're right here, Billy.
I know, we're just standing here waiting for it to tell us.
Just waiting for them over.
I swear. Let's keep that one just a little bit.
I'm trying to.
A little bit more. Sherry knows I'm really late.
I know. She's centering us.
Yeah, I am.
We need over just a bit more.
I feel like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, very good. All right. squeeze
Got
in.
me out of it yet?
Have you ever seen the minions? They're like guineas. They always.
Get closer, good lord.
You told me to get over.
Getting close to the bed, we're gonna be Siamese twins.
Just one more. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
This is really a surprise.
I know.
Anytime, we're there.
I moved my thing over. I said, somebody might get us confused.
Thanks, Josh and Jimmy.
Thank you, Betty.
Okay, next we have reports. The cemetery board will meet again on Monday, May the 9th at 9 a.m. Historic landmarks, the next meeting is Thursday, May the 12th. And Anna, would you like to speak about the grant opportunity?
So nothing like waiting until the last minute. The grant is due today at midnight. So if you guys approve it, I will be going home and getting it submitted. But it's basically from the Humanities Council. It is up to $5,000. And what we're hoping to do is be able to bring a bunch of History Alive events to the city of Weston throughout the summer. So they would go on periodically throughout the summer. And what those are is basically a live performance, kind of like a monologue, and then a reenactment, musical, something along those lines, depending on what the character is, and then a question and answer session. So they'd be free to the public. And that's essentially what it is. And it's a no match grant. We're not asking for any money, just permission to do it.
Humanities grant for,
Up to $5,000. So I've got to finalize the budget tonight. Each one of those events costs roughly $150 for just the payment of the person there, but there's other associated costs. So it'll be less than $5,000, which we'll be asking for, but it's up to, they allow you to ask for up to $5,000.
And I read that, but I don't remember if it was matching or
No,
not.
no money.
I thought
We're
it
not-
was
Yeah, it's,
unmatching.
yeah.
It was in our packet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
that's-
I'll entertain a motion to accept the submission of a More Perfect Union grant through the Humanities Council for up to $5,000.
I'll move to accept that.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Aye.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
For the motion.
Thank you, guys. So do you
Thank
want me
you,
to
Anna.
stay up here for anything else on here? Or are we good?
I don't think so. I think you're good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, and next, we had tabled at the last meeting, the application from Robert Weaver to the Historic Landmarks Commission. And at the last meeting of the Historic Landmarks Commission, it was determined that per the bylaws of that group, we have all seats, a total of 5 filled on that commission. So I would recommend that council table this application until we have a vacant seat on that commission, if that's your pleasure.
I'll move to table this item until we have a vacant seat.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, voting by roll call, please.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Aye.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Madam Mayor, could I just interject for just a second?
Yes.
This process, I think, was kind of set up by you all. Going forward, if we don't have a vacancy on a commission like this, would you just rather we hold on to the application before submitting that to council, or and keep it on file, I guess, for a year or whatnot? Does that seem appropriate?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That way there's no hard feelings.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be just very honest. I didn't realize there wasn't a vacancy when we presented it the first time, but going forward, we'll check that and make sure it's verified.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Weston Planning Commission. The next meeting will be Wednesday, June 1st at 4:30 at the City Building. It has the next meeting of the Board of Parks and Rec as May the 20th, but we're actually having a meeting this coming Friday because the group have reinstated the Carp Festival and will be meeting to discuss the specifics and planning for that event. Did you have anything you wanted to add, or?
I think we're well on our way. We've announced it and got a logo put together at this point and making some phone calls to make sure we have our paperwork in order to be able to host a fishing tournament essentially through the state of West Virginia. Were you guys wanting to offer any words?
I did talk to several businesses today and every one of them donated something.
Well, great.
That's great. Thank you, John.
I got a couple of them that give me 2 days and I'll get all it. But all of them agreed to help.
It's received a lot of positive feedback, just the notion of bringing that back. So
Yeah,
thank you
I
all.
think it'll be a good thing.
What's the date?
The date for that is that June 11?
That coincides with the free fishing weekend in West Virginia. So anybody's eligible to fish without any kind of issues. I think in order to be able to be a part of the tournament, we're going to require your registration. We haven't really figured out whether we're going to do a registration fee or anything of that nature. But
Working on registration now.
yeah. So
It's also second Saturday.
correct. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to ask, I sent Ashley Montgomery, I don't know if he responded back, because I haven't checked, but on the vendors, are we charging a fee for them to set up these?
There's never a fee on
Yeah.
second
I
Saturday.
know a couple vendors that would come, and that's the question they asked.
Yeah.
There
I-
she is.
Yeah, I think we're going to direct all questions to Ashley in regards to the vendor setup. So
Mhm. Yeah,
we're
we'll
trying to
discuss that.
combine resources.
Connie, we're discussing the Carp Fest.
Park Fest.
did a lot of legwork today. He got a lot of wonderful donations. I'm glad we're able to bring it back this year. It might not be as big as it was when it ended, but we'll grow every year.
Mhm.
And that gives families an opportunity to come out, fish, so I encourage everybody to come out. I'm working on the register, but part of it, me and Nate's been back and forth how we want to do it. I say, make it free.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm encouraging families to come out. I want them to come out, enjoy the day, not have to, be able to pay to fish on the riverbank. But I think with everybody's help in the town, it's gonna grow.
Well, first place being a lifetime hunt fishing license,
That's our goal.
there's a lot of people like to hear that. It's a positive thing.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Lewis County EDA, the next meeting is Wednesday, May the 25th at 5 PM here. Board of Zoning Appeals, next meeting, May the 10th at 6. Code Appeals, next meeting Thursday, May 19th at 6.
And both those meetings are always pending whether we have any action from those two boards. And I don't I think as of today's date, we don't have any pending action, so they may be canceled.
Next meeting of the Neighborhood Watch is Wednesday, May 4th at 6 PM here. Do we have a program for this Wednesdays?
Yes, I believe Sheriff Joseph has got one of these deputies speaking. And I'm not sure if the guy that was supposed to come back, that he's got him, he just said yes.
I was hoping he would do the identification of different substances. Okay,
I'll get back and tell you.
okay, thank you. And it looks like we still have 2 available positions on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Next, we have the Sanitary Board Directors Report.
Good evening. Sorry if I duplicated the report this evening. I wasn't really sure that Judy got the copy of it, put in your packet before this evening. So if there's a duplication there, I apologize. Kind of update you on the projects that are going on right now. Phase 1 of the sludge removal, the bid award and the pre-construction meeting is actually set for May the 10th. We had to change that date last minute this afternoon. So that'll actually be for May the 10th. The start date for that project is May 20th, and the completion date will be for November 16th. So that's coming up this month to get that project started. Phase 2, sludge removal. We have hired Potesta and Associates to be engineers for that particular project. Applications for funding on that project have been submitted to a couple different sources, and we continue to fill out applications for others as well. There'll be a full update on that project at our sanitary board meeting next Monday at 4:30. Down at the plant, the guys have been busy down there. Brock continues to meet with me on several of those project meetings, and also the calibration for the dissolved oxygen probes, the weekly UV filter cleaning and maintenance, all the normal maintenance that goes on down there at the plant has taken place this month. We have to continue to take the lab samples. Because until we find a different lab, we're just going to have to make those deliveries ourselves. On the collection side, we've repaired lines on Franklin. We did repaired 2 on Jackson Street, 1 on Spring Street. There was repaired lines that were damaged by the foam from Department of Highways. I'm sure all of you saw that mess and were aware of that mess that went on.
I have a
on Third
question
Street.
about that.
Yeah.
I know they hit gas lines as well.
Mhm.
What department is doing this exactly? Do you know?
What, Department of Highway?
Yes.
What particular department?
Yes,
I don't know for sure. Do you know which one?
Bendale?
Yeah, it's a county.
So it's the county. Are they going to continue to do this?
My understanding they are.
How can we get them to stop doing this? It's clearly not working.
No, Mackenzie Murphy said that there'd be no more injections of the bone, so.
Okay,
This last I heard, Nathan and them has been around him for a few days as well, so they may know.
No more. He
Yeah.
no.
good.
It's cost them more in repairs after the phone than what the phone saved them.
Right.
It cost them more in one day.
Yes,
than it
yes.
did.
We got new lines. We got new lines.
Hard way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
you're
I
fine.
just thought it was a good
Questions
time to
anytime.
point it out. Thank you.
Sure. Did several missed utility markouts. They had a new tap in Homewood and several jet calls. This month, there were 18 jet calls. 5 of those were mains, 13 of them were customer laterals. We had to pull several pumps this time. Weston Manor continues to be an issue with the wipes that those residents put down the drains there. We're working on a way to try to avoid that, whether that be by fines. But we're gonna have to do something because that's a weekly, we're pulling that at least once a week, if not twice a week. Pull pumps at Kinchelo, Jordanville, Dancer, Hickory House. We continue to work on Station 5. That's the station down in Shady Brook. That one definitely has some issues. That one's definitely gonna have to be redone. And we're working with some contractors on some repairs there too. As far as my report goes in the office, it's just been lots of discussion with engineers, with the attorneys, with Region 7, with funding agencies. Other than those discussions, we've sent out 452 past due termination letters, negotiating with those customers that have past dues, severely past dues accounts. Really making some headway with getting those paid. When the accounts payable, payroll, working with the state auditor's office on our audit now. Weekly and daily conversations with the engineers and special counsel regarding the projects that's getting ready to start up. Working with the customers to obtain assistance from the different agencies that are helping them. There's a couple more that have come out of Department of Health and Human Resources that are helping our customers, and that's getting a lot of those past due accounts paid off. So that
That's
new
nice.
funding has really helped that. Working on the budget with the accountant. That should be ready sometime a little bit later this month. And that's it in a nutshell. If you all have any questions, though, I did ask Brock to come this evening because I knew Herb would have questions.
Just one more.
Sure.
Yeah, just one more. Are you ready? You ready for this? No, I'm just messing with you. As we spoke a while back, Podesta, as we had chosen, did they get the necessary information in for the funding by, I believe it was April 10th that we were speaking of?
Yes.
Good deal.
Yeah, we'll be able to apply for the money, the congressional monies through Untitled Chapter.
And mention both.
Good deal. Thank you.
They're also looking at the EDA
They're not
grant
also-
opportunity for
Today,
funds.
the engineer started working on that one today.
I have a question. In all the
Sure.
fiasco, did we learn who was tying into our stormwater from residents?
On which one?
On all the foam,
Oh.
when their basements got, did we find out who was tapping in and
Oh,
on that?
No, it was more, when they dug down, they didn't find any foam layered in like you would think if there was caveats or cavities. The only foam our guys ever saw was actually what was in our lines already. And it totally filled a 12-inch line for about 40 feet, 50 feet maybe, and it filled a manhole all the way up to where we could do it off the foam was right there. So, interesting, but totally avoidable. Should have been avoided. They knew this could have happened.
And they knew it. I mean, they admitted it afterwards. The last conversations we had when they
already
were
had
buttoning
happen
it
in
up
Elkins
was-
before they
yeah.
came here.
Oh, it happened in Elkins.
Yeah.
Same thing. They tried to raise up the roads to hold everything. They got in storm and sewer lines, filled them. They ended up having to dig up the roads and replace the lines.
Well, then they knew how to fix it, right?
They did. It was the same contractor that came out
Yeah.
to fix ours to get rid of the foam was the same ones that were in Elkins. I mean, they knew what they were doing, what they were up against.
I say new technology doesn't mix with old infrastructure unless you plan. I don't believe there's much planning, so.
I'm sure it happened. Somebody came down, had this bright idea, sold it to the state, cheap, blah, blah. What you
Exactly.
get.
Grounding in the state, well, I love grounding in the state.
Especially when Dave's not here, right?
Yeah.
They deserve it. of course. Yeah, we had 13, 14 foot joints of pipe that were solid, new technology or newer pipe. But when you have 80 or 100-year-old infrastructure with the pipes only in 2 foot joints, every 2 feet, you're gonna have a crevice that, and this was just like a spray foam that you'd use around the window or anything that just expands. So it just goes wherever it's easiest to go. Well, storm drains, sewer drains, it's all want to get in there. And then from what I've heard, they were getting paid by the gallon. So when you're filling a 12-inch line for 50 feet, you're going through some time too. So
Any other questions? Brock and I both have another meeting that we've got to go to. If you'll.
Thank you.
excuse us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate those opportunities.
Okay, next finance report.
And sorry that you got March's,
Again, but with this just being the second day of May, then April was not completed yet.
Yep.
So hopefully soon you'll have it one that's the correct month.
That's understandable.
Let's talk some numbers, huh?
Huh?
You were supposed to mention your municipal service fees. You told me not to let you forget.
So as of today, the municipal fees, we brought in $313,285. And this time last year, it was $293,961. So we're over about like 19,000 from this time last year. So
What have you
Thank you.
changed in your collection process?
no, it's not me. It's when you all just said that you couldn't have the permit without being in good standings. That's what, this is a lot of it. So, and I thank you for that. So,
Just gave you another tool.
Yeah.
For your toolbox. Thank you.
I'm going to add some notes and talk about the budget revision as well before we move on. Today, I just ran the April report. Just, it hasn't been reconciled or anything like that with the accountants, but we had our sales tax come in, and I think I mentioned that at a prior meeting, 152,000, which we were budgeted projected for 150,000. So I think we're going to come in well ahead of what we anticipated this year for sales tax revenues. We'll use that for our revision. IRP, we had another IRP, which is the Interstate Registration Program. We get these monies from the state, for lack of a better word, from tractor trailer haulers and things like that pay taxes on those transportation costs. Those came in, but we had another, I think, $18,000 I showed today from that we'll be anticipating into the coffers. And so we were very conservative in that estimate. I think we were around 35,000 was our budget. I said 37.5, and at this point we're at 76,000 for the year on that. So it's probably pandemic related, honestly, with all the shipping and things that have been going on. But
I don't think that's going to change. I think that's a new.
yeah,
trend.
I think you're exactly right. So from everything that I've just looking down at our major players, I think we're doing really well. B&O taxes, we budgeted 450,000 for the year. At this point, we're at 476. So we're over that with 2 months to go of collection. So I don't anticipate any issues. The biggest was finding enough time to do this budget revision and getting the numbers just to balance, right? And as I spoke to you before, I'm going to try to take the excess revenues that weren't projected and try to make our numbers work for that, for the different things that we've kind of overspent on it in some degrees, but I'm not too concerned
That's
about it.
gonna help, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Maybe we stick it in beautification. right?
yeah, we may have to. So, but then like things like our light project on
Right.
Main or
Right.
center that we've picked up, and we're gonna have to find funding for that somewhere. Most likely we're gonna eat some equipment in streets department as far as, we had projected to buy a curbing machine and a paving machine. I think one or if not both of those things are gonna go by the wayside this year. We've kind of kept our eyes out for a good used unit. Neither one of those domains, we haven't found those yet. The curving machine I called about, and they're 7 months behind in the production schedule. So even if we decide to go that route, we're not going to get that in this FY year. And as we've worked on things, I'm not sure it's something is a priority of ours at this point now. So we'll fill you in with those details. And yeah, so I'll leave some other discussion for other topics, but that's where I'm at with finances.
Well, that is certainly a help because I know that because of the houses that we tore down, some of them being burnt, the dump fee was extremely costly. So this is going to help.
I would just like to say, on your papers, you have to, some of the municipal fees are under the tax penalties and interest, and they're also some of them under the fines and fees and court costs. So you got to add them all together in order to come up with the number more or less that I had. Okay.
Any questions for the finance director?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Next, street department.
Sorry, you guys got my report in there, but there's a couple things I'd like to, well, probably 3 or 4 things I'd like to add to that. We're still on 816 Walnut Street, and I know it's been a long process, but we're in the back of someone's yard. And when the rain gets us, we can't work on it. I don't want to tear the person's yard up. So hopefully we're going to be able to get, we do have it all mulched and seeded in, but we need to get some of our debris out of the back. And I don't want to make it any more expensive than it is. And that's about halfway down on the first page. The other thing I would like to, that's not on there, excuse me, is last week, I just want to say that we had 3 dumpsters that we went around and picked up a lot of the trash cleanup in the city. And I will say one thing, and I want to give those guys a really big shout out. They worked very, very well of picking this stuff up. There were some things in some streets that was on the streets. That was probably a little overwhelming for them when you have 65 bags of trash. But they worked very well. And we done a great job, I think. Also, a big shout out to, I think her Michaela Wash. She's a teacher at St. Pat's. She took her children, students, out and picked up the trash around her school and also on part of the Center Street. She set those bags out. We picked them up. Also, we had another teacher from the middle school, and her name was Alexis Fisher. And she was from the middle school, and she took her students out also on the 29th. We picked that trash up, and there was a good little bit of trash there. And the other thing is we're way ahead. I think we're ahead on the millings of some of the patching. We have 30 tons built up right now to be put out. Maybe hopefully we can get those 3 or 4 loads out tomorrow. And also we did take out a tree. That was a tree that was leaning over on a house, and it was on our right of way up on South River Road. I think the road goes over by the river. And the tree trimming guy come over there, and he was only supposed to take out 2 or 3 trees, I think it was, and he wound up taking out 6 still for the same money.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's where we're at. If anyone's got any questions for me, be happy to answer them. I heard a mumble over there. What was it?
Councilman Curtis.
Oh,
I wasn't able to find nothing. Go ahead.
well, thank you.
I've noticed all the patching all around town. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, and so we're talking about patching it for just a little bit, since we were talking about it. I'm sorry. I've talked to our paving contractor, tried to reach out to him today. Some of that might be on my fault for not reaching out to him as quickly, but I got a call into him, and I've also went around and looked at some of the spring roads that we're getting ready to get him the mill up. So as soon as we can get him in here, I'm ready to go.
Thank you.
And some of your guys attended some classes at
Mhm.
the Painters Union.
Yes, it should be about the fourth or fifth one down. All the employees attended the
Yeah,
corrosion prevention maintenance class, April 6th at down by the sanitary department in Turnertown. And it was very interesting for us. Some of them, a couple of us, including myself, won a door prize.
Good for you.
That's a conflict of interest.
Won a door prize. If it is, I'll give it to you, Herb.
Questions?
I have one quick question. So we paving as far as total streets, one end to the other. Nate, how many are we doing this year? Was there 4, 1 in each ward or 2, or I can't remember?
Well, I guess it depends what your definition of year is. And the rest of this fiscal year, we're concentrating on Ward 4 because they got left out last year.
So, I like that.
I have the paving schedule on my desk across the hall.
Yeah, and
That you gave us.
correct. And I guess at that point, I think we've got that, and Reservoir Street is on the spring list. And I think there was one little other section we were doing
Spring list. I
on the
think
spring list.
we got one that's really bad. It's Loftus up there, and I really don't know where we're at. And I've been scratching my head on that thing, and I'm telling you, it's just nothing but a mess. But
Yeah.
we'll get it.
Aren't
So-
we doing like 2 in the spring and 2 in each ward and 2 in the fall in each ward?
I don't think we're doing much else than what we said in the spring. And then everybody's getting a street in the summer season, at least a street, if not more.
Oh, I
Yeah.
understand. You
Yeah.
broke it up into.
There-
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of places like, I think maybe like a half a block or whatever, like from the bridge up, or we'll just go the one on Court Street. We'll go from right there by the ball field up to 6th Street. That place is getting done. Then you come over on Center Street. We got from the bridge up to 6th Street, and then on up 6th Street, all the way up to
Right through
8th.
there.
Yeah.
You know, there's just places that we're trying to, that's in really bad shape.
And a lot of the streets they've been over paved over the years, so we're gonna mill those. And so we're trying to, in a sense, we're not trying to slow the season down, but we are trying, the paver has indicated they want to bring their milling machine in one time and cut down on the mobilization cost. So we don't want everybody to have to drive over a milled street for 8 months. So we're trying to push it out to have, when that milling machine does show up, mill all the roads for the entire year that need milled, and then be able to get our works done as quickly as possible, then pave over it. Does that make sense?
So we're
So-
scheduled already.
I think so.
Everything's
Yeah.
scheduled?
We've awarded the bids and they're aware of it. We need to make contact with them and say, hey, this week here's when you guys are showing up. We haven't done that yet, but we're trying. Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Good to me.
Next, Police Department report.
Well, so last week Mike picked up all the trash around town, and on Saturday we picked up all the drugs. Not all of them, unfortunately, but we did have our drug take back. And I want you to think about this, because when I say we got 70 pounds, I want you to think about 70 pounds of pills. I mean, that's a lot of drugs, And I think it's drug take back day, but they also, I wasn't there. I had some stuff to do Saturday, but the members that were manning the booth or table, whatever, they collected needles also, and there was about 3 gallons of needles. So,
Wow.
yeah. So anyways, so beyond that, I don't think I have a whole lot to add other than, Nate, should I mention the news from today?
Yeah, go ahead.
So June Mackey, the secretary, informed me today that she will be retiring May 27th. So in the meantime, me and Nate will be discussing and, how to move forward.
And nobody tell her, but we'll try to plan a party for her.
Okay.
Absolutely.
This is great.
How
Yeah.
many kids did she have, Josh?
30.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
August of 92, she told me today was her start date. August 92.
Okay, any questions for Chief Thomas? Next, we'll move
Thank
on
you.
to the fire department.
I don't have a whole lot. All the guys did pass the practical exam for the EMT class. They're just gotta finish a ride along, so go take the written test. The insurance company will be in for our ISO Monday, May the 9th. We'll have that to deal with. Been working on it. And then it's on down the list. So I'll bring it up later. Then this, the purchase of the truck, which thankfully we did purchase that truck because the other one blew up last Sunday morning. So
Oh, it did.
Yep. It locked up. So we got to figure out what we're going to do with it. I don't think it's going to be worth fixing. The quotes we have on it's up in the mid-20s to almost 30 grand to fix it. You'll never get that out of the truck. So probably just take sealed bids on how it is, and we're still good. We still got plenty of trucks to survive with till the new one gets here. So
That's the one that was like a 1980.
it's an 85 model.
Yeah.
Did you say
And a
it
good
was,
one.
Jim? It's 6 months or so. before
About
that?
9 to 12 months on the new one.
9 months.
Yeah.
Questions for Chief Settle?
How's our newest employee doing?
He's doing all right. He's still
Yeah.
young.
I know.
We'll get there.
He has a great attitude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, building code zoning report.
It looks like we've got a report in the packet for you. Andy's been coming in. He's been out, I think now 2 weeks out from full time. But he's been aiding us to keep the department running in the interim. And probably, we're lacking in inspections and things of that nature, but at least keeping the building permit process rolling. I'll just make mention, I think we've got 3 or 4 candidates lined up to interview in the next week. And so hopefully we'll have a quick turnaround and get somebody back into that, maybe 5 now. So when we advertised this time, we kind of left it open-ended to allow people to continue to submit applications. So the list has continued to grow, but that's a good thing. We've had some good interested candidates. So I think we're working with some people on council, right, to come to those interviews and things of that nature. So hopefully we have something soon there. But other than
I
that,
don't see that report in our packet.
okay. I think there was a building permit one, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a building permit.
Is it?
Oh, sorry, no, I misspoke. It's building license I read. So there is
Yeah.
no report in
Oh,
your
okay.
packet. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Next, city attorney.
As usual, all my stuff is under old business and new business, so we can discuss all that there. And I turned 40, so take it easy on me.
Happy
Okay.
birthday.
Thank you.
How old?
39 again.
And city clerk, we do have the business license report for the month of April. Thank you for that.
It's GNL Enterprises. GNL Enterprises.
Doing business as Coke and Float.
Yeah, I just wondered.
Yeah, Haley Maynard Rogers.
Oh, okay.
Married
Okay,
my
I know who it is
nephew.
now. Yep.
It's not true.
Okay, and next city manager report.
I snuck some details in there for you all on the things we've been working on this month. So feel free to ask any questions about it, but I'll just I wrote down some topics I wanted to cover with you, things to think about. Vacant structures ordinance, per that ordinance, people are supposed to be registering by June 1st. And so I've been working with staff on developing a letter that will probably go out this week to people that we know of that have vacant structures. The mayor's also included a blurb in the latest newsletter to ask people to register for that program. And so my anticipation is that we're going to have some pushback on that. So be prepared. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, code official interviews and just personnel in general, I think are going to be a big topic this month. We've had a couple of people apply to be street temps, so we'll work through that backlog as well. Street sweeping. We've gotten a quotation from our first street sweeper brand up there in the Pittsburgh area, Golden Equipment, to provide the original model for a couple of weeks, and then a different type of model for the last couple of weeks. And so that's looking about $2,500 a week, which is right in line pretty much with what we had with West Virginia Tractor. So we're hoping to start that here in May at some point. I'll have to, my thought is, to meet our financial requirements, that you guys approve anything over $5,000. I'm going to view it as a weekly rental. And until I get to that $5,000 level, we'll have a special session between now and then and be able to approve that fully. But just to keep the works moving and get things cleaned up for Memorial Day, that's what we're anticipating. That's what the street commissioner and I have discussed. You heard about the Weston Cart Festival. I think that's going to be something that just to bring a little bit more clarity to that, we're working with Ashley Montgomery on second Saturday to kind of combine the whole, to make it a super Saturday, I guess, in a sense. And so I'm just really looking forward to that event. I fished a little bit at my house last night. All I had was a muskie that came up on my bait, but I'm working on my carp skills. PSC, we've been talking with them about waste and a little bit about sanitary board stuff as we got this discussion of the American Legal Ordinances. And I figured Brian would talk a little bit about that, but been some interesting conversations, and at a future meeting, we're probably gonna have a conversation about that regarding waste hauling or roll-offs and stuff of that nature. Mid-Avenue retaining wall, that we got a draft set of plans on that late last week. And so Mike and I have just begun the review process on those plans, and we're gonna get them some comments back. And my first comment was, what's our timeline here? So I'm hoping that will be able to be resolved here very quickly. So that's where we stand with that. 4th Street Bridge, we didn't get to mention much of that. So the contractor called us early I think it was actually last Monday, and the State Department of Highways did as well. That bridge there's an issue there with the retaining wall, the existing retaining wall that's kind of connected to the sandstone house there on the left as you're looking up 4th Street Hill. That is a precarious retaining wall. And so the steps that we've all agreed on, we're going to reach out to the homeowner and see if we can come to some kind of conclusion on where their responsibility and our responsibility meet and end, and see how we can adapt the project to that. We've also put the ball back in the engineers. Stantec was hired by the state to design this bridge, and there's not really a whole lot of language in the plans that speak to this wall. And so to me, that's an oversight on their part, perhaps, and it's something that they need. If it's not an oversight, they need to at least address, because I think it's going to require a design change of some sort of magnitude or a field change or something. So that was what we all agreed to, I think, down there, was to get them roped into coming back and doing a site visit. So we'll keep you posted, but I think this has the potential to involve change orders and costs and things of that nature. But it's a precarious spot. The retaining wall is connected to the house, and the house supporting wall, the house is compromised in our opinion as well. It supports the entire addition of this home. So we've got to figure out how we can escape this, or extract ourselves from this at the least minimal cost to ourselves.
I wanted to add something to that, Nate.
So sorry, again.
My argument would be, and I'm not an engineer, but
Sure.
my argument for the city versus the engineering firm would be, they engineer a project for that project in the end to work, right?
Yeah.
They design it to work, for it to be finished, completed, and to work. So if it cannot work due to something arising coming up, being the retaining wall, then I would see that on their behalf as far as responsibility. Just a thought.
As far as financial responsibility,
Financial to correct the issue.
right?
If they engineered something for it to work in the end, and halfway through, we see it's not going to work.
I tend to agree with Councilman Curtis. I know it's a unique project in that the city government went in with the State Department of Highways, but we have acted in good faith, and they've come back to us twice with increase in cost.
Right.
And we have cut them a check for those additional costs. And I think somebody needs to bear the brunt of that. I'm not so certain it's the city.
I'm not taking up for anybody here. I'm just telling you to prepare yourselves that I figure we'll lose, and we'll do our best for you. And that was essentially our conversation with the contractor and such, and that that wall didn't grow up overnight. Those engineers or whoever, I don't think it was necessarily oversight. I just think it, and I shouldn't put this on them because I wasn't there and can't speak to it, fully, but to me, it just looked like it was ignored, and I think from the state's perspective, and they stated as much, that this isn't our right of way, it's the city's right of way that this thing is in. So I think from their standpoint, it was our responsibility to make some kind of, effort to resolve this before design. Now, do I think that's fair? No, I don't think it's fair, because I think exactly like you've stated, you guys aren't engineers. You trusted that the state, and that was the whole kind of, I think the whole point of going into this relationship is that they had people
Yes.
that were going to be supervising this and trying to avoid these kinds of things. So it's a sticky situation. We'll do our best to get it resolved, but our big onus was that the design engineer needed to be there, because whatever we did was going to require a redesign. And I think that we don't want any part of redesigning that thing and then the onus being on us for any kind of, slippage or slidage or anything you want to call that nature. So we're going to try to put as much pressure on the powers that be there to make sure that they have prescribed the fix that they feel is necessary to get that thing fixed. But that may involve cost to us, in the fix. And I'm just warning you from my past experience. And I don't have the agreements with the state on hand anywhere, but I'm sure that language is in there to make sure they're absolved from any and all sins. So that's where we stand, and we'll do our best for you.
I think we should probably do whatever it takes to keep the project going. But at the same time, I think there's a responsibility for being purveyor of the money to maybe spend some money and do some legal research and maybe at some point in time and look for an option and go back and try to recoup some of that money. I mean, it's a possibility to look into it and see if there's a way that we can do that. I don't think we ought to hold it up now, but I think we ought to get involved and do some research to see if we can somehow maybe legally get some of the funding back.
Yeah.
Might be an option. I
Don't
know.
disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. It's just,
You know what they say, sue.
it's a huge cluster. I kind of made a joke earlier about, if we didn't take care of the library's retaining wall through fixing it, we are going to be ordering them to fix it, then we'd probably end up fixing it. And it's kind of a similar situation with this home, is that the whole superstructure, the retaining wall and their support on this addition is all tied together, and it's all broken. And so immediately, if you start getting in there and moving stuff, you're going to carry a lot of risk. And I'm just trying, to get out of Vietnam here, right? We're just trying to build something that will not collapse and still support the house. And so I think that's what we're going to try to accomplish, is for as little pain as possible. But it's a tough situation just from a technical standpoint. Looking at it, I think it's, and the sidewalk ties into it all, and there's
The wing wall ties into it.
Yeah.
And again, Randy, to answer that question, we are not holding anything up as we speak. We're still moving on. Okay.
Yep.
There's still
Well,
plenty of work for them to do.
The reality of the situation is they should have put that into the whole plan.
Exactly. This wasn't
I
the time.
mean, this project's been way too long over time and way too complex for any of us sitting here to do anything. But like I say, I think we should at least look at every option of legal retribution to us if we have to pay a bunch of money to do it right. It needs to be done right, and it needs to keep moving, but we need to try to recoup that money if we can.
Well, before we cut a check, I promise you, I'll bring you some kind of legal reason for why we're being forced to, but we'll see. We'll do the best we can. Yep.
Thank you for your efforts in protecting the city's
Yeah, we're
interest.
trying.
I'll thank you later.
Anything else, Nate, on your report?
I think that's the main highlights. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer those.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept all department reports.
I'll move to accept all department reports.
It's been moved and second to accept all department reports. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to old business discussion of American legal ordinances.
April 30th was the deadline to turn in our comments to American Legal's review. So I turned that stuff in Friday. Essentially, we're going to get and I use this in a broad sense, a final edited copy of what they're going to put on the internet and what we're going to, in theory, set here and look at and adopt as updated Weston code, for lack of a better word to say it. So there were a couple issues that American Legal found that I had to do a little research on because I wasn't quite sure. And it was what we talked about, I think at the last special meeting we had was a review for like delinquent bills and whatnot for Sanitary Board. And after some education on my part, when you, a city, not a person, but when a city creates a utility, that utility, for lack of a better word, de facto comes under the guise or comes under the rules of the PSC, Public Service Commission. And the Public Service Commission has various procedures to deal with people who are aggrieved by delinquent billing. Essentially, it starts with you go to the utility and you say, hey, I have a complaint, and they try to solve it in-house. And if you don't like how that goes, you make a formal or informal complaint to the PSC. So I think we're covered as far as American Legal's issue as to whether we provide appropriate due process or whatnot for delinquent billing. I think other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. I read some of these, what I would consider dated free speech type issues with parades and with being out on the street being out on the street protesting, for lack of a better word to say it. And when you say you can't put something on a sign, that turns into content discrimination. But there's exceptions to that. And when what you put on a sign would cause immediate breach of the peace or would cause the person you're intending to hear that message, if you would cause them to get in a rage and want to fight, that kind of language is not permitted. And so I incorporated some of the language from some Fourth Circuit case law from, I think it was from 2021, that in my opinion covers this concept that you just can't put anything on a sign. It has to be sure you can't, what you put on the sign is not intended to cause instant breach of the peace or instant wanting to fight each other. So I think we cleared that up a little bit with some of the language I put in. I think other than that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I got a question on the signage at protests or demonstrations.
Sure.
And at one time, we run into an issue that you couldn't put any signs, display anything publicly that wasn't by the people who sponsored the event. Is that still going to be in the?
Now I heard you, but say it again. The people holding the signs.
The signs had to be related and in reference to the sponsorship of the demonstration, because you have a sponsor coming, signing up for the permit, and then they're responsible for the content, and all that has to be related back to the sponsor.
Now they may be responsible for the content. Now I don't know if it has to relate back to their purpose.
Yeah, because that wouldn't be a First Amendment violation if everything that was representative, because the people who arrange the event and plan the event are the people that are responsible for the consequences of their actions and their signage and whatnot. And all signage had to be directly related and referencing the sponsors of the event, or it wasn't permitted. That was in city code.
Yeah. And I don't recall seeing something like that in what American Legal found.
Remember that?
That city code had the potential to cost us $1 million. I'm just telling you flat out, it was deeply flawed.
Okay.
Deeply flawed, yeah.
Now, and I mean, I guess we could parade the Girl Scouts down Main Street and somebody walk in there with a sign that says, I love hot rod cars. That has nothing to do with the Girl Scouts, but I don't think you can stop somebody from walking down the street with a sign like that unless it's tending to incite somebody to immediately come up and want to fight you or cause a disturbance of the peace, for lack of a better word.
Social chaos.
Something like that.
So do any of these require any of these, you're changing code or statutes or laws? Do they require a public hearing, 2 readings?
And I think when we get this
for the
final,
changes?
when we get this final draft, and I'm kind of exaggerating, you'll take it and you'll set it down on the desk and say, hear ye, everybody. This is what we're going to draft in as the new updated. That's not new, it's updated.
So you're gonna
Updated code.
do-
And so there's going to be some kind of notice that people can look at it and come in and make comments or whatnot and we can read it 2 times or 3 times. I don't think you need to read it 3 times. I think you can read it 2 times. And from that day forward, that's what we use or cite to as anything for like traffic tickets or
Okay.
whatever we want to cite to or whatever we want to use it for.
That code's about this thick, but I think you guys need to take a look at it at some point. We've got that digitally that we could.
I was gonna say, can we look at it bit by bit and go over it?
Yeah. And I'm just making up a date here. They get it back to us on July 1st, let's say. You don't have to pass it on July 14th.
Okay,
You can look at it as long as you want to
Okay.
and make any changes in, and I think it would still pass it.
Well, we want to make sure the public has an ample opportunity.
right.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So he submitted the draft, but he also submitted the ordinances that we've passed in the interim since we sent the first batch of files, which have been quite a few. So they'll incorporate those as well. So the work you've done won't fall by the wayside by any stretch of the imagination. That'll be incorporated. But I just wanted to, at that point, I still think it'd be good to get them the code in the interim and let them start digesting that.
And I tried to email it to some people, but it's massive. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
we could probably do something like that.
Do that for you and get those to you.
I think there was something about you can't cuss out anybody across the telephone or something generic like that. And we could, yeah, I mean, it sounded like it was like a party line type deal from 1940. But arguably, when you say something bad over the phone to somebody, that doesn't cause an immediate breach because they're 10 miles away from you, 1 mile away from you. Okay. Yeah.
Is that everything you have, Brian, on
Yeah,
American Legal?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, ordinance 2022-10, creation of Assistant Finance Community Development Director. Nate, would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, I'm probably going to kick myself in the rear end on this one, but when I put forward this on the agenda, I guess I had a different scenario than what I have today before me. But I just want to speak to the need for this position or a position and someone of a financial background inside of our office. I think since I've been here, we've been discussing, a bookkeeper or someone of that, or finance director, and we've promoted Susie from within, but Susie's previous duties didn't go away, right? They're still there. So just personnel related stuff, in the last couple of days and last week, really the last week, we've had things happen within the office that I think really speak to our need of having this position. You should have had a budget revision tonight. You didn't have that. And I just haven't had the time to be able to put that together and still have a life outside of work. So I guess at this point, I'll ask you to table it so that I can kind of do some reconsideration of where we're headed as an administrative staff. But I did want to speak to this because I had some comments back on it. This description you have, there's a lot of community development things there and grants and just different organizations. We had a board Parks and Rec meeting. We've had historic landmarks and things of those natures. We've got ample opportunities for grant writing and for receiving grants, but also then you've got to manage those grants. And I think for the most part, yeah, the city manager should have some oversight in that and participate in that. But realistically, that's just a lot of work for one person plus all the other tasks inside of our office. And then, you know, if I'm not doing it, then we're relying on volunteers to manage those grants. And I think we've been lucky. We've had some good volunteers that have managed those well. But we just can't reach our full potential of the different things we could do without having someone that can kind of grab that bull by the horns. So that was the gist of trying to put that position in there. Plus, you know, be a liaison to all these boards. And if I go to every board meeting, my week's pretty much gone, or my month, or whatever, how you want to look at it. And it's just a challenge. And I try to pick and choose my battles. And like I said, we've got good staff that fill in for me from time to time. And the mayor does a lot of that as well, and different people on council. But I think, again, we need this position. We've got, you know, we don't have the bandwidth as a staff, or, you know, when I say bandwidth, I mean time and sometimes knowledge to be able to cover for these different responsibilities. You know, and I tell the mayor this all the time. If I go home and I'm in a car wreck tonight, there's no one to pay the payroll that has access to the codes or even knows the first thing about it. And you may say, well, you need to cross train somebody. And I'd agree. But when I look around the office, everyone's busy, very busy. And to be able to expect some of those tasks out of some of our maybe staff members have a little bit extra time, that it's just not reasonable, nor their skill set. So at this point, I think this position is not going away, but I do, before we spend the time passing 2 ordinances and creating this position, I think organizationally, you know, we've got a municipal fees clerk position that we have, you know, on the books. We've got a finance director. You know, we've got a police clerk that the police chief and I have talked about that maybe we can merge some of these duties with. Those considerations, I think, are going to change what this looks like. So that's all I have. I'm just going to make a recommendation, table it at this point, and we'll reconsider it at a future meeting, what direction to take.
I had a question
Sure.
for the chief, Josh. So you're going to work on restructuring that position as far as the duties go with James, or?
I mean, the duties won't change.
I mean, restructuring as far as adding or just changing.
Well, I mean, that's a discussion that me and Nate are having.
Yeah.
See what we can come up with, a solution that is going to best serve the city.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I will mention, as we move forward next in July, when the CAD system, the new CAD reporting system, 911, that will actually remove some of those duties on that position, because it takes all our state mandated reporting and it puts it integrates it into there and does it automatically. So that's a huge chunk of those duties.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to table the ordinance 2022-10.
I'll move to table the ordinance 2022-10.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have an application for the Memorial Day Parade, Saturday, May the 28th. Starting at the middle school, heading west on East 4th, onto Main, left on Center to East 3rd. And the sponsors are Weston Weston VFW and Lewis County Post 1976, Heath Schrader.
Starts at noon this year.
Thank you.
Is there any cost associated with the parade, or just a question?
No.
A big reason.
The larger parades, like Christmas parade, especially, I mean, most of the Christmas parade. I mean, the only cost associated with that one, because it's such a large crowd, that we will let the traffic control for that.
Oh, okay.
So that, you know, obviously that incurs some overtime. Beyond that, there's not really there's no cost associated.
Appreciate it. Just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I move to accept the Weston Memorial Day Parade application for Saturday, May 28th, 2022.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to approve the Memorial Day Parade application. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, West Virginia First Memorandum of Understanding, MOU of opioids.
That's a me question, or a me topic. As best I can tell, there was some kind of ongoing litigation at the state level over the quote unquote opioid epidemic, or what the state is saying, that these drug manufacturers pumped a bunch of opioids into West Virginia and whatnot. And one of the companies apparently is settling with West Virginia for in the ballpark of $26 million. And the way the settlement is, to get any of that money, you have to become a participating local government, or you've had to already be in litigation with this company. And as best I can tell, Weston has not been in any particular opioid litigation. So what this memorandum of understanding is trying to lay the foundation for, trying to lay or trying to grease the skids for, is for these local governments, for lack of a better word, cities and counties, to get some amount of money from this $26 million. And however the state has done its math, there's $5,860,400 to be distributed between all the local governments. And so, no, it's between hundreds of things. And so I read this thing, and sometimes I'm not very smart. I called the Attorney General's office and spoke with a gentleman down there to try to generally get the nuts and bolts of what this thing is. And to become part of this litigation, Weston essentially signs two pieces of paper. One saying, hey, we accept the memorandum of understanding, and the other one is called and I can't remember if that's in your packet or not, or if we even got it to you, but election and release form. And that's essentially that's saying, hey, we want to get in this litigation, and Weston as an entity will not seek other remedies or other damages from this Indo company or Indo Par or whatever it is. And so when we do that, and when Weston gets into this litigation, I think we just kind of sit there and we don't do anything. We just kind of wait for the settlement to happen, and then the money get put in our bank account. Weston's going to get 0.0088% of $5,860,400, which sometimes my math's not very good, but it's around $51,000 and some change, which is better than what we had a year ago. So there's the deadline to get this thing signed in and back to the Attorney General is June the 1st. We're welcome to look at it and sign it today. We can do it at a special session. It's totally up to you all. I think it's well worth $50,000 to not essentially do anything except join I hate to use the word class action because I don't think that's necessarily what it is, but to join the plaintiff side of this thing and get $50,000.
Is there any
Give or take.
stipulations with this?
Yeah, you have to spend it on. They have a appendix or an exhibit of various ways. You just can't go out and buy beer and cigarettes with it. You gotta spend it on ways to prevent drug overdose or enforcement of laws for drugs and stuff like that. So it doesn't. It's not. It's earmarked for pretty broad purposes, but it has to be related to fighting the opioid epidemic, for lack of a better way to say it.
Can we make suggestions now? Because what I'd like to see is some kind of program brought into the school. We have so many kids parents who are dealing with drug addiction, and I just think it'd be really good.
There's a lot of kids that are drug addicted already.
I know.
And I think that's certainly a great conversation to have when we get the money in the barn.
I just want to put that in
Yeah,
people's.
absolutely. So I guess that takes a vote on you all to say, yeah, let's join it or let's not join it.
I move that we accept the West Virginia First Memorial, about MOU of opioids.
Is there a second?
moratorium.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to accept the memorandum of understanding of opioids from West Virginia First. And we'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Hi.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Kirk.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
If we can,
Next.
we can autograph that now.
Yeah, probably
Sure.
should.
Do y'all know we had one of West Virginia's original, one of the first film mills,
No.
West Second Street.
Really?
They finally, after she moved, they finally arrested her and put her in center prison. People would come there and camp, set up tents in the parking lot at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, so they could be already in line to see the doctor the next morning and get filled.
On West Second Street.
All you have to do is say, oh, my leg hurts, my back hurts, whatever. There you go.
Dope sick. That's in that.
No, it used to be the exempt medical.
Really?
They would, I mean, they would come from, they would drive from 3, 4, 5 hours away. They'd set up tents and camp in the parking lot.
I got it.
So they could be the first in, because you only see so many a day.
All right.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
I'd like to have one.
Fist fighting out, the places in line, gotta get your bills, man.
Happy 40.
Have you watched Dope Sick on Hulu?
No.
It's about the opioid and Peru pharmaceuticals.
Big party.
It was so good. I watched it to 1:30.
No, it's, I mean, but it's true. I mean,
It is.
they-
It makes you
they-
mad
they-
when you-
West Virginia.
It makes you mad when you watch it.
Okay, next, resolution to purchase fire truck through Country Roads Leasing.
All this is just roads leasing. They have to have a resolution to where we're purchasing the truck through them. It has to be signed by, looks like the city manager and the mayor. But it had to be in the public forum under the resolution, the way I read it here.
Okay.
It's attachment 5.
I found it.
Guys have all that.
Did you find it, Kim? Not mine, because you have to read it, I'm sure.
And it's through Country Roads Leasing, but they use Citizens Bank of Weston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Resolution, I should say.
So I need to read the resolution. Is that what you?
That is the way I'm understanding it. I don't know if, because it's a lease agreement through Country Roads. So if something happens, the next council comes in and doesn't want to pay for it, they can, Country Roads like, gets the truck back.
Okay.
So it'd just be attachment 5, just reading that resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of master equipment lease purchase agreement.
See that.
Just right here. Should be the same thing you've done for
That's the
the
way it's set
city
up,
PD.
though.
No, I think we read it.
Yeah.
Approved it.
They could resolve the calculation
Okay.
that's in there, they probably could have saved it.
I wonder.
I know better.
Okay, so we have the proposed resolution in front of us. Section 1 authorization, the governing body of lessee does hereby approve the agreement substantially in the form presented to this meeting and does hereby designate the chairman of the board of lessee and other officers of lessee who shall have power to execute contracts on behalf of lessee. B, and each of them hereby is authorized to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the agreement with any changes, insertions, and omissions therein as may be approved by the officer who executes the agreement, such approval to be conclusively evidenced by such execution and delivery of the agreement. The mayor or city manager of the lessee and any other officers of lessee who shall have power to do so be, and each of them hereby is authorized to affix the official seal of lessee to the agreement and attest the same. Section 2, execution of documents. The proper officer of lessee be, and each of them hereby is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all papers, instruments, opinions, certificates, affidavits, and other documents, and to do or cause to be done any and all other acts and things necessary or proper for carrying out this resolution and the agreement. Section 3, designation as qualified tax exempt obligation. Lessee hereby designates the agreement as a qualified tax exempt obligation within the meaning of section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. And finally, section 4, effective date. This resolution shall take effect immediately. I'll entertain a motion to accept the resolution for Country Roads Leasing.
I move to accept the resolution for Country Road Leasing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Aye.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank
Mhm.
Thank you.
Next, banner agreement with First Energy.
This is the hanging of the banners off of the telephone poles throughout the city. I think we and First Energy wanted I don't know if a more clear agreement or a better agreement was, but we wanted to change some language in an agreement they gave us. For my purposes, changing some language that was what I thought cornering us into only being able to put up what they called banners or for one specific theme or one specific event or one specific happening or whatever. And I approached them and asked them, hey, can we add in this contract that we can hang up banners for civic purposes in general, not necessarily advertising anything, but just say, hey, like what we do for the veterans and whatnot. And they had no problem with it. They agreed with what's there in your all's packet. And I think the second biggest problem, it wasn't a problem, but the second biggest thing we wanted was for our city guys to be able to get up there and put the banners up and not necessarily have a third party do that. That's as a cost reduction for our purposes. And so I think First Energy agreed to that too. And so they're in agreement with what's in front of you. They're waiting for us to sign it and get it back to them, and then we're all on the same page here, getting banners hung up.
And I'm assuming that you've looked this over and it is in compliance with our zoning ordinance that refers to placement of signs and banners.
And that's a good question because I did not look at that yet. But there's some kind
Caught
of,
ya.
there's some kind of temporariness to them. So there may be
Well,
some
they are
kind of,
temporary,
yeah.
so they would fall under that.
So
Kim,
there's some kind
because
of,
they are a temporary sign.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
I noticed that the language is there for commercial advertising, and that's something
But-
that DOH has really impressed upon us
Yeah.
not to do.
yeah. And I think there might be a blurb in there that we can, if we want to do commercial advertising, we have to get their permission or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Is the city attorney comfortable with the agreement
I
with
am.
its corrections?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion for acceptance of the installation agreement for placement of flags or banners between Mon Power and the city of Weston.
I move to accept.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to accept the installation agreement. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Aye.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump.
Yes.
Councilman Curtis.
Yes.
On the autograph there somewhere. We just voted in.
You just need that
sorry,
sign
that
now?
was-
Yep, yep.
I think the copy you have.
Just need that last page signed.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. And we were approached by the group who are spearheading the annual National Day of Prayer. And I have a proclamation that I would like for you to consider approving this evening. That day would be on May the 5th, the National Day of Prayer. And I believe they're having a ceremony here at the courthouse on that date. Whereas the 71st observance of the National Day of Prayer will be held on Thursday, May 5th, with the theme Exalt the Lord who has established us. Whereas the National Day of Prayer has been part of national heritage since it was declared by the First Continental Congress in 1775 and the United States Congress in 1952, approved as a joint resolution that the president shall set aside and proclaim a suitable day each year as a national day of prayer and meditation in churches, in groups, and as individuals. And whereas the United States Congress in 1988, by public law as amended, establishes an act to provide for setting aside the first Thursday in May as the date on which the National Day of Prayer is celebrated. And whereas leaders and citizens of our communities, cities, states, and nation are afforded the privilege of prayer with the joy of seeking divine guidance, strength, protection, and comfort from Almighty God. And whereas recognizing the love of God, we citizens of Weston treasure the freedom to gather in prayer, exercising reliance on God's power in the face of present challenges and threats, asking for his blessing on every individual in our city. And I'll entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation that will be presented on May the 5th.
I move to adopt the proclamation.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to adopt the proclamation. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll need the city clerk to attest. And Vice Mayor Rogers, will you be able to present that Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have 4-day work week with office being open 8 hours daily.
I just wanted to bring this up for some discussion. Our street department has moved to a 4-10 schedule here in the summertime. And I think we've seen productivity increase, right? We've gone from maybe 1 truckload of asphalt to 2 or 3 on a good day. So that's been a good thing, I think, for them. And that allows Mike's been able to rigor the schedule in a way where People work a 4-day week and they oftentimes get a 4-day weekend if to allow them, it's kind of a benefit, I guess you should say, for the employees. And while we've done that, we've also been able to maintain 2 to 3 members each day on the bookends of the week, right? Where people, we've broken our staff into two sections, I guess you should say. And so they overlap for 3 of those days of the week for major projects, but on the bookends of the week, we only have 2 to 3 people there that allow us to still maintain services and still get 10 hours of work out of a crew. And I think we'll probably do the same thing once we hire some temps, increase our numbers and allow us to do a little bit bigger projects on those bookend days. So that's been a success. Currently, our police, I think, are 10-hour days. Yep, correct. 10-hour shifts. So that's a 4-day week. Our fire department's a little bit differently construed, where they work shift work, in 24 hours and have some off time. So what I'd like to do is extend this opportunity, if staffing allows, to our office staff and work with them to make sure we have the core functions covered for all 5 days of the week, but also allow them that flexibility to work 4 days with gas prices being higher and things of that nature and cut
Yeah.
down their commute.
It's a consideration.
I think the city manager will remain 5 days a week because I think that I've probably got to do that. But with my, being exempt, I can cut out different times and things of that nature. So I'm not too concerned about it on my end. Now, we're going to have some staffing challenges here, it looks like, coming forward. So I'm not sure how much fruition is. I just wanted to, what I'd really like to do with going this schedule is maybe bump up our hours, maybe an extra half hour, an extra hour for the office to be open. But I also want to guard jealously that extra time that our staff would have there to give them time where we're not answering phones, to get other tasks done and stuff of that nature. Cause that's, just in feedback with people. That's one of our biggest things is, you're here for 8 hours a day, but those 8 hours you're on the whole time, right? Even through a paid lunch or whatnot. So it doesn't stop. And that's good for our residents and for our customers, but it's not good for being able to work at your desk oftentimes. So, without any opposition, I'm going to try to implement that as long as you guys are okay with it. That's my plan. So.
You have that as an action item on.
Okay.
the
I didn't even know I read
agenda,
it. All right.
And I really think that's within your and
Purview.
your
Okay.
supervisor's purview to make that change.
Sure.
And I share that sentiment, but I wasn't sure how it would be taken, but I wanted to make sure you guys had the opportunity to weigh in on that before we implement.
I'd
it.
like to
everybody
weigh in on
okay
it.
with that?
I know what it's like for the phone to constantly be ringing, and
What do they do for-
when you're trying to do a project and, it's,
3 days?
you're more productive if you don't have to answer the phone.
Right.
I hear you.
Oh,
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
oh, you do.
I do, yes.
You don't have to do that.
No.
Okay.
Because it's an action item though, what do we do?
I guess just authorize me and my purview to
Yeah.
Approve
carry that
it
out.
and go on?
You can.
Do what?
You can allow the city manager the latitude
Thank you.
to alter the schedule.
Okay, I'll move to allow the city manager to alter the schedule, the work schedule.
No, second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, reports of city council. I'll try to be quick. We've already talked about attending the classes for the painters union. That was really an eye opener for me. I had no idea that they were so busy and brought people from several different states to those classes. Also attended the Upshur Drug Court Foundation meeting on April the 12th. We've had a couple successful graduates from Lewis County. And that's always a good thing. Hopefully we'll see more of that from Lewis County. Attended the Mayor's Roundtable with Congressman David McKinley. There were a lot of mayors there, I think 20 some actually, and they discussed their paramount concerns in all of their cities. And we talked a lot about the typical thing, the monies for infrastructure needs. And we also had a discussion about the sewage issue here in Weston. Also attended the Lewis Upshur Emergency Planning Commission meeting. And I'm not sure if any of you are aware, but that group has funding, and one of their primary reasons for existence, they monitor the hazardous materials that commodities flow through the county, and they're actually embarking on a required study. They've contracted with a firm to set up and monitor and report back what hazardous materials come through the county. So it's going to be very interesting to have that shared information, and I'll bring that to an upcoming meeting. I think that's it for me this month. You have that list in front of you of everything attended, and we'll move on to Ward 1.
Thank you. I would like to make the announcement that there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony this Friday at noon at Heater's Restaurant. Everyone's welcome to attend, and I would encourage everyone to come out and show their support. This ribbon cutting is to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. This Saturday at 9:30 a.m., we'll be planting some of the flowers downtown, not all of the flowers downtown. We're going to do what we can do this Saturday at 9:30 a.m. I would like for everyone to feel welcome to join us if they would like. I'd also like to thank the city staff for their hard work and efforts towards improving our community, and the volunteers of our boards and committees. I know that the volunteers spend countless hours. Thank you, Anna, of working on grants, researching grants, and it shows. Everyone pulling together, it absolutely shows. Our community is improving daily, and I appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Well, I was planning on asking the mayor if I could read the proclamation for the day of prayer, and she rolled into it so fast I didn't get to, so I didn't prepare any remarks for this evening. Just carry on and keep doing good work.
First of all, I would like to congratulate Councilman Curtis over here, who will be graduating from Glenville State College this Saturday, if you haven't. University, sorry.
Yeah, university.
Sorry, university.
What else?
Words for you.
That's all you had. Wow. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Had a good bit of things going on in my work. 218 Court Street. Thanks to the city manager, Mike Stair, the contractors. I forget the name of that company. Andy Darby. Yeah. We got the dilapidated structure across from St. Pat's Gym tore down and cleaned up. They've been doing a lot of paving, patching holes in Ward 4. Believe we had maybe another break-in or so in Ward 4, but I think it's coming to become under control from where it was before. So I'd like to thank the chief of police and the city law enforcement and county for that. I believe that's all I have. I move to adjourn.
Oh, well, actually, I thought you were going to say a few words about your degree when I pass it over to you.
Oh, no.
But I'd like to thank Betty again and Billy for their neighborhood watch and taking care of things.
People like you who wouldn't exist, so.
All righty, we have a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry.
The city, the girls of the city would like to thank Nate Stansberry for sending us flowers this week. And we're all the time picking on Brian, and his card said, because Brian's favorite quote is "in theory."
Very.
So Nate signs our card, "In theory, I appreciate all you do." It was a good one. We appreciate it.
Happy past administration week last week.
That's all. Yes, it did.
So we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
No,
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all. Those are cute. Yeah, Gina will look good in them. This is for you. I signed it in the wrong place, then I.
Hey, make sure and put that.
I did, I got it off. We'll see you later. Bye.
Like I said, you really made sense.